And this isn't just about salmon arm.
No,
This
not
is
at all.
about, first of all, the Shuswap. So what do we mean by that for newbies like me?
I don't even necessarily keep it to the Shuswap, but if it is the Shuswap, it kind of is Mara to Mcleod, Mara to Westwold, Falkland, the Celesta, Scotch Creek, Lee Creek area down to Enderby would kind of be what you would see on a map. But if we had the storage cooler facilities to keep produce in, there's nothing stopping us from trucking it to Kelowna, to Calgary, Kamloops, Vancouver. All we have to do is do it. And these things right now, it sounds like, oh, well, we can't do it because it's going to be too expensive. Watch the price of the produce coming into our country now and the quality of it with the droughts, with fuel costs, all of these things. We better start being really aware of our environment and how difficult it's going to be to get that product here from, how do you get an apple from New Zealand to the store in Salmon Arm? You pick it up and it feels sticky.
Covered.
It's just covered in some kind of a chemical to keep it from rotting.
So
And you can buy a grape from Chile rather than from Broadview. It's asinine. So we've really got to start thinking local. And you think, oh, well, it's never going to happen. But if that boat and that truck doesn't arrive, and I go back to that no blade of grass, what people do when they have no more food, it's a pretty scary show.
I remember the show very well.
You've seen it?
Oh, yes, of course
Yeah,
I've seen it. It's it belongs to our age, John, and we need to bring it back.
Another one that CBC did, and somebody should get it out of the archives, I think this might have been in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was called The Politics of World Food. And I think it was a 7-part series. And you'll not see our present Prime Minister or Premier putting up any money to have that rebroadcast anytime soon.
Well, this is the thing, John. I did some research on the weekend because you were inundating me with acronyms that I didn't know anything about. This I can't even remember them. So I started looking them up, and I got onto a website that, in fact, helps identify all the organizations in the world that are interested in doing what you're describing the Shuswap Food Action Co-op is doing. And I thought, then why hasn't it already been done? There's so many organizations afoot. Why hasn't something really, really happened? GMO has happened while they're doing what? And yet it looks very, very good on paper, but and maybe it is. Maybe that slow swell is happening, and I don't see much of it yet, except here in the Shuswap.
If the local citizen had as much say at the Prime Minister's door as what the lobbyist for the multinational has, then you'd hear more of it.
Are we going to become, or are we, as the Shuswap Food Action Co-op, are we going to be politically active?
We have to be.
What are we going to do?
I don't know what you're going to do. I know in 1984 I boarded an airplane and went and demonstrated on Parliament Hill against NAFTA.
You did.
And that didn't turn out well. But, if you lay down and play dead, somebody's going to roll over top of you. And so we have to do what we can do. And I really feel guilty that our age group have had the very best of everything. And what about our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and so on? What kind of a mess? Just take a look around what we've done to the dirt, to the environment, to the water. How much damage have we done? And is it all so that we can have 2 more pieces of silver in our pocket when today or tomorrow or when we're dead? It doesn't do us a damn bit of good.
And I've heard you say, because you're not a dark and oppressed man, therefore get the kids involved or the youth involved.
You betcha.
We really need them in these organizations.
You
and they
betcha.
are there in some number, are they not?
Oh, Joy DeVos is the leader of the Deep Creek 4-H Club. They have 22 members. 4 of them come from farms. The rest come from subdivisions. That is so exciting. Those kids go out to farms. They feed calves. They clean pens. They groom calves. They teach them how to lead. That is so good that these town kids, the subdivision kids, are learning this. And the parents, those parents, deserve some kind of an award for being aware enough to get their kids that kind of an experience where most kids, the milk comes out of a plastic container on the shelf in the fridge.
Well, maybe that's one of the awards that can be sponsored by the Shuswap Food Action Co-op, because we really are keen, as I understand it, from just talking around the table, we want the youth there. We haven't got them in the rooms I've seen yet. We got to make the contact. So I'm charging you with this, John. I want to have our next radio show interview after you come back from your holiday, because your wife deserves that. I think you do too. I want you to make contact with the Deep Creek 4-H Club and come back on the show with 1 or 2 of them, and let's have a talk again like this.
You betcha.
And then let's make them honorary members.
You betcha.
Yeah, let's do that.
Excellent idea.
Good
Excellent idea.
And then let's start working on an award for the parents of the 4-H kids.
Very cool.
And we'll bring the parents in. We'll charge them $20 membership.
There you go. Yep. We already have a plan.
We already have a plan just sitting here across the table.
What could possibly go wrong, Jerry? By the way, Jerry, I noticed in Voice of the Shuswap's studio here, somebody's selling eggs.
John,
I see egg cartons.
You do. You do. Do you know why? If you turn around, we'll have a second of radio silence here while John discovers what we do with the egg cartons as he looks at the back wall.
Oops.
But you know what? We do eat the eggs, and we support them for sure.
Yeah. But we can do it here locally, and just driving in here, I was thinking about when I was saying earlier about warehousing our product and this kind of thing. In the early 1900s. The Salmon Arm Farmers Exchange was started up by some orchardists that wanted to warehouse and market apples. And they were really, really successful. Our local credit union today is a result of that Salmon Arm Farmers Exchange. That's a baby of that. Another thing is that Askew's, David Askew, is a director of Food Secure Canada.
And he's the sponsor of Steve Corey's The Core of the Matter show here.
There you go. Excellent. But I remember as a kid, Askew's had an abattoir, and we would take our animal in. It would be slaughtered. And then Askew's had a freezer department in their store that was just on Alexander. And that was before people had freezers at home. And so you'd go in and you would get your meat. And it was all local. Mm-hmm. Everything was local. It wasn't brought in from someplace else. And why not do that again? And I hear people, like I was in the dairy industry, and I hear people saying, these damn farmers are making too much money. The price of milk is too much. Well, the price of milk is related to the cost of production. And they say, well, how come I can go to the States and it's so much cheaper? The farmers down there are multinational, they're huge, and they're subsidized. They just about didn't pass their farm bill last fall, and the price of milk in the store would have been more money than what it is right here in Savin Arm. So let's make sure that when we're talking about the price of food, we're putting all of the inputs on the table. Because if it's subsidized coming from someplace else to compete with something that isn't subsidized, the unsubsidized loses. Back to that Peter Block meeting. One of the takeaways from that is every time you spend $1, you vote. And I thought that was very appropriate.
It is appropriate.
Do you vote for the Cargills, the Monsantos, all of those kinds of people? Or do you vote for your local sheriff?
You know what I haven't done?
So-
I haven't translated. I spent a good portion of my life teaching film history. I teach people how to watch a movie. And my technique is to do this because we have to do a lot. It's a very complicated business making a movie. And what I'm interested in is, do the viewers really know, can they see the decisions the director made, or the cameraman made, or the camerawoman made? Can you see the decisions? Wow. In some of the films I teach, the first 30 seconds is full of decisions.
Yes.
And when you detail them, you go, wow. And now some films are really poor films, and the decisions are not very good. But it's just the act of being aware that decisions are being made that result in, well, results.
Exactly.
But if I apply that to my life now, and I look at my own kitchen cupboard, all of those are decisions I made. Everything I see there, my house, my land, my car, these are decisions I made. What's the foundation for those decisions, and which ones were good ones and which ones were not?
Yeah.
It's scary because most of my decisions, in fact, are rather poor. And what I'm finding I haven't got time to sit down with another damn book and learn everything that you've learned through all these years. But what I'm finding is just joining these groups, sitting down at the special events that they put on for us. I'm learning scads, and it's fun, and I'm starting to make better decisions for myself.
You bet.
So I think the groundswell is coming, well, from a lot of different sources, but from people like yourself. And we've mentioned some of the others, Laura Colina, and Dorothy and Neil, who help
Great.
people
Super
make
people.
decisions.
Yep.
So my question, as we start to wind down this show today, is to ask people, when they go shopping today, to detail the decisions they're making.
Right on.
And one of them may be when they go to the big supermarkets. Where did you go in the supermarket? Did you go around the outside edge?
Yeah.
Or did you decide to go down the center? And why? What
Yeah.
decisions are you making when you do that? Well, I'd rather have somebody else process my food.
Yeah.
I'd rather have somebody else cook my food.
Did you look at the label? Did you
Did
see
you look
whether
at
it
the
was
label?
BC? Did you see whether it was local?
Yeah.
Did it come from Chile? Did it come from New Zealand? Did
Right.
it come from Argentina? Start paying attention. Every dollar you spend is a vote.
Okay, that's a good one. So who did you vote for today? Well, the Coca-Cola Company, of course.
I voted for Java Jive. I went and got a smoothie on the
you
way
did,
over
did you?
here. Yeah.
Okay, well, good for you. I'm not sure how to end this because I don't want to end it. But we have been talking both about your history as a farmer. You are leading the way right now with the Shuswap Food Action Co-op.
No, I'm part of a group.
You are, but you are leading the way. You know what? We need leaders. We have to have leaders. If we just have people sitting around a table talking and nobody bitching about not getting to action, John, the group isn't any good. We need leaders. So you're not going to get away with this. But we need leaders coming up as well. So I want those 4-H people here.
You betcha.
And I want our listeners to just join us.
Yeah.
And they can join us how? What's the mechanism?
They join us by going to Shuswap Food Co-op and contacting that a website now. I'm old, Jerry. I'm from the Flat Earth Society, so I have to let somebody else give the info on how to deal with computers and all of that. Mine goes beep, and I shut the lid.
Okay.
And
You know how to send jokes by email, though. But
Yeah.
they can. And the website is shuswapfood.ca. And they can go there, ferret their way through, and learn how to be a member. And we can
Yeah.
help them. There'll be other shows about this.
yeah, and I hear the tune coming on
You
here,
do.
and the kids can teach the parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we got it.
And John McCleod, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you,
but
Jerry.
for coming here today.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening in, Anne and Carol. And I think Dorothy and Neil may be listening in too.
And it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.